Hey everyone, so I'm going to do a video on analyzing functions. The first thing we're going to talk about in this video is finding the zeros of a function in factored form, the multiplicity of each, and whether the graph will touch or cross at that zero. So the first example, I'm going to first solve for my zeros, and you do that by setting each piece equal to 0, the inside. So don't really worry about the power. We're just going to set the inside equal to 0. And this will get our values of our zeros, where your graph crosses the x-axis. So right now I know that my graph crosses the x-axis at 3 and -4. Now your multiplicity is how often that value occurs, and that's where the exponents come in. My multiplicity for 3 is 2, meaning that value happens twice, and my multiplicity for -4 is 1, because that is the exponent here. Alright, now the whole idea of whether it'll cross or touch. Multiplicities tell you how your zeros will behave, whether they will cross or touch the x-axis. So I have -4 and I have 3 as my zeros. There are points here on the x-axis because you set them equal to 0, so that's when y is 0, you cross the x-axis. For the first one, if you looked at the graph, you would cross at -4 and touch at 3. Okay, so let me just draw that a little bit better. So you cross this, and you swoop down and you touch that. So what do we do at 3? We cross, and then, actually, I'm sorry, let me go backwards. I was going backwards. This is touching, and this one's crossing. Okay, so an even multiplicity will touch, and an odd multiplicity will cross. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with this example. I'm going to split each of these and set them equal to 0. So my first one is 2x to the 4th equals 0. Then I'm going to set the inside of x plus 6 equal to 0, and the inside of x minus 1 equal to 0. I'm going to add 1 here and get x equals 1, and that has a multiplicity of 1 because the exponent is 1. And even touches odd crosses. So this multiplicity is 1, so I already know that I'm going to cross at that graph. Okay, so now I'm going to solve for x here. X equals -6. The multiplicity for this is 3, and again, even touches odd crosses. My multiplicity is odd, so I'm going to cross. Now with the 2x to the 4th, I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to get x to the 4th equals 0, because anything divided like 0 at the top part will get you 0. So 0 over 2 is going to be 0. Take the 4th root of either side. I mean, that's just going to get you x equals 0. But theoretically, there are 4 of these, so my multiplicity is 4. Alrighty, so that's an even multiplicity, so I will touch at 0. So if you graph this thing, what you would see is you would see at -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would cross. At 0, it would touch, and at 1, it would cross. So the graph that I got on my calculator was something along the lines of this. And the next question says, find a polynomial function that has the following zeros and multiplicities, and then what is the degree? So these are my zeros because they're my x values, and these are my multiplicities. I'm going to give my function a name, it's f of x. Right now I know x equals -3, x equals -1, x equals 1, and x equals 2. And this is how often they happen. So, here's the deal. You're going to go backwards. If you have x equals -3, I want to bring this 3 back to the x. So I have x plus 3 in my parentheses. The exponent that goes with that is 1 because the multiplicity is 1. Then I have x equals -1. Again, I would add 1 to bring it back to the x and get what's inside my parentheses. And that also has a multiplicity of 1, so my power is 1. X equals 1, I'm going to bring that back to the x, so I have x minus 1 inside my parentheses, but that has a multiplicity of 2, so that'll end up getting squared. And then this one says x equals 2, so I'm going to subtract 2. I have x minus 2 in my parentheses now with a multiplicity of 1, so the power is 1. So if I want to write this, you guys really don't have to write the exponents of 1. So this is my polynomial function. Now your degree is the highest exponent that you would get from here if you FOILed the whole thing out. If I multiplied these together, I end up with x squared. I'd end up getting x squared here if you actually did the box method out, and you end up with just x here. What you have to do to get your degree is you actually just add up the exponents, because that's what you do when you multiply bases, you add the exponents. That'd get you 5. And the shortcut is that if you add up the multiplicities, you end up getting your degree. So like 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, and then plus 1 is 5. So your degree is 5.